launch of Space Shuttle Discovery.
This is a space news update for May 31st, 2008. Riding atop a tongue of flame that rivaled the late afternoon sun, Space Shuttle Discovery rocketed away from Kennedy Space Center today to start a 3-day race to catch up to the International Space Station on a mission to deliver the largest component of the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency's Kibo laboratory to the orbiting complex.
Let's go for auto sequence start.
25. T-minus 25 seconds and counting.
20.
T-minus 15 seconds and counting.
10.
10 seconds. We have go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery. Combate Kudasai. Best of luck to the International Space Station's newest laboratory.
Houston and Discovery, roll program.
Roger, roll, Discovery. Houston now controlling the flight of Discovery, a man-made rising sun on behalf of Japan. Discovery on the proper alignment, heads down, wings level for the 8.5-minute ride to orbit. 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the International Space Station.
Discovery lifted off exactly on time at 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time after a nearly flawless countdown that saw no major issues arise that could threaten the shuttle's liftoff. Even the weather was steadfastly idyllic. Forecasters had given 80% odds of good weather for launch, and by launch time only a few scattered clouds could be seen in the sky. Discovery is commanded by veteran shuttle pilot Mark Kelly, with pilot Ken Ham flying in the right-hand seat. They're joined by mission specialists Karen Nyberg, Michael Fossum, Ron Garin, Japanese astronaut Akihiko Hoshide, and future space station resident Gregory Chamatov. Discovery's pre-launch flow was marked by a record-low number of issues that the processing team had to contend with. The 74 interim problem reports during the 171-day turnaround time since its last mission beat or tied the previous record low, also set by Shuttle Discovery. The smooth operations continued into the countdown and launch, giving testament to the skill and professionalism of the orbiter processing and launch teams at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Only one minor technical issue came up during the shuttle's climb to orbit. The redundant electrical actuator on one of the orbital maneuvering system engines suffered an electrical failure and is apparently out of order for the rest of the mission. The component that failed is a backup to the primary system, and Mission Control doesn't expect it to have any impact during the remainder of Discovery's flight. Discovery flew with the first of the so-called inline external tanks. These tanks are built from the ground up with all of the modifications ordered after the Columbia accident, rather than being partially assembled and having the changes retrofitted into them. During ascent to orbit, shortly after solid rocket booster separation, a camera mounted on the external tank captured what appeared to be several pieces of debris coming off the tank. All of the debris came off after T+135 seconds, and didn't decelerate enough to cause a substantial velocity difference between the orbiter and the debris. As such, an impact to the shuttle would not have caused significant damage. Simply put, the air is too thin at that altitude, and any debris that hits the orbiter's thermal protection system harmlessly deflects away. Along with external tank videos shot by Discovery's crew immediately after tank separation, engineers on the ground will examine video from cameras mounted on the forward and aft sections of the two solid rocket boosters in order to pinpoint when and where any debris may have been released prior to booster separation. However, that video won't be available until after the boosters are towed back to port and disassembled, which will likely be on Tuesday. They will also examine photographs taken by cameras in the orbiter's umbilical well that snapped photos immediately after external tank separation to determine the condition of the tank after Discovery separated from it. The primary objective of the STS-124 mission is to deliver and install the long-awaited Kibo pressurized module to the International Space Station. By volume, Kibo is the largest of the pressurized modules and will join modules by the other three primary station partners: the Russian Zarya and Zvezda modules, the US Unity, Harmony, and Destiny Lab modules, and the European Columbus Research module. The pressurized module provides a shirt-sleeve environment in which astronauts can conduct microgravity experiments. There is space for a total of 23 racks, including 10 experiment racks inside the module, providing power, supply, communications, air conditioning, hardware cooling, water control, and experiment support functions. The module is 36.7 feet long and 14.4 feet in diameter. It's 14 feet longer than Columbus and 9 feet longer than the Destiny Lab. The 16-ton module includes its own robot arm that will be used to move experiments between the airlock on the forward end of the laboratory and an external experiment pallet that will be sent up next year. Additionally, Kibo has 2 windows on its end facing out into space. Another, smaller pressurized logistics module was attached to the top of the Harmony module during STS-123. The module, analogous to an attic for the large laboratory, will be relocated from Harmony to a space-facing berthing port on the Kibo pressurized module during STS-124. Another important objective of the mission will be to rotate Space Station Flight Engineer Garrett Reisman and replace him with Gregory Chamatov on Expedition 17. Reisman has been aboard the International Space Station since he was dropped off on shuttle mission STS-123 in March. Discovery is also delivering a late addition to the manifest: parts to fix the space station's commode, the only bathroom 200 miles out into space. The Russian toilet on the space station failed, and despite repeated troubleshooting, the astronauts have been unable to repair it completely. Specifically, while the commode is able to handle solid waste, it is unable to process liquids. The parts that Discovery is bringing up should enable the crews aboard the space station and shuttle to fix the toilet and return it to working condition. Failing that, the station is equipped with Apollo-era waste bags that the crews can use to do their business. Discovery is scheduled to be in space for 14 days. The shuttle will undock with the space station on June 11th and head for landing back at Kennedy Space Center at 11:14 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, June 14th. As a side note, after the launch, Kennedy Space Center News Chief Allard Butel was joined in the KSC News Center by Shuttle Launch Director Mike Leinbach for a ceremonial tie-cutting ceremony in front of the gathered news media. There is a tradition at the Space Center that whenever a new launch director conducts his first launch, he gets his tie snipped in half to mark the occasion. Well, this was Butel's first mission as launch commentator, calling out the countdown for the world. So afterward, Leinbach paid tribute by performing a tie-cutting ceremony on his tie, prompting cheers from the press corps and employees gathered in the news center. And this has been a Space News Update for May 31st, 2008. Be sure to tune in to our next podcast, and if you want to watch our archive of podcasts, please visit our website at www.dailyspaceupdate.com. And for more space news and multimedia, visit the Spacarium at www.spacarium.com or spaceflightnews.net.